So I'm getting ready to go and observe Raghav's class. As an observer, there are 3 simple guidelines for me to keep in mind of. The first is to focus on the question that had been decided in the pre-observation. The second is to be as detached as possible when collecting data. This is crucial because as teachers, it's so easy to start writing about other things. And the third is to focus on collecting data rather than trying to answer the question, because the answering of the question is something that will happen in the post-observation. I was mindful of sharing specific feedback and data points with Raghav without being judgmental. This gave him an opportunity to reflect on the feedback for further actions. So I had a chance to go through your observation and I really did like your class.
Thank you.
So just to go through the protocol a little bit, I'll start off by just sharing the raw data.
Okay.
And then maybe we can have a little bit of a discussion on that and then talk about ways to maybe move forward.
Okay, perfect.
So to start off, your focus question was, what is my balance between lower cognitive and higher cognitive questions? Correct?
That's right, yes.
So now let's go through the number of questions that you had asked in terms of the lower cognitive and higher cognitive questions.
Perfect.
So in your observation, I had wrote down that you asked a total of 17 questions, of which 15 of them can be considered as lower order questions, of which most of them being yes and no.
So I'm going through it again, but most of the questions you asked referred to recalling or identifying terminology. Because you were doing data analysis, right? And you were talking about quartiles.
Yeah.
So a lot of the questions, and I'll just go through some of them right now, was what is the formula of Q2, for example, right? Which was also interesting because when you asked this question, which is a lower cognitive question, a couple of the students had raised their hands, but you ended up answering it.
Oh wow.
For yourself. So you asked the question and you answered it.
I didn't even realize I did that.
And after you finished the 3 definitions, you said, okay, you all have the definition, so you all have the understanding, which is interesting because only like 2 students, so you had a very small percentage of the class that actually remembered the definition enough to raise their hand. So, I mean, clearly the class probably still needs a little more scaffolding to the content. What is the formula for range? Students raised their hand, but that's the time in which Vanchika sort of answered. She blurted out the answer even though other students had raised their hand. Who knows another name for Q2? Again, a lot of students raised their hand, but Vanchika again got the chance. So she got a lot of chances throughout the session. So Vanchika got 4 chances to answer like a series of questions almost.
Okay.
So maybe what can, I was reading, since you asked me to look at questioning, I was reading some research on questioning, and the research suggests that you are more likely to identify people who are closer than you. So what happened was when you were teaching, you spent most of your time on the board, next to the board.
Correct.
And that one cluster is actually very close to the board. So I guess it was natural for you to just keep on referring to the same student again and again.
Yes.
So walking around is always maybe a nice strategy.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
For the questioning part at least.
Yeah, that's great. That's good to know. Thank you.
So I think that's something that happened a lot. You had these low cognitive questions, which was the recall part, right? So if you look at Bloom's taxonomy, it goes from knowledge to comprehension to application to analysis to synthesis to evaluation. Most of the questions you were asking were in the knowledge to comprehension range, which was how we would classify as lower cognitive questions, right? So what if the objective of the class, you wanted them to achieve what, an application of their understanding? Would that be like a good objective for you for that session?
Yes, so the intent was to ultimately be able to apply their knowledge in a new domain, a new scenario.
You're absolutely right. Higher cognitive questions would definitely help address all of those objectives. I think one thing that could maybe work for you is that if you can pre-write your higher cognitive questions first.
Okay.
So when you're doing your planning, for example, if you can write your 3 high cognitive questions that you know for sure you want to ask in your sessions.
You know, Rag, firstly, thank you so much. This is absolutely brilliant. Throughout the week as well, as I'm taking my classes, it would be great if you can just randomly pop in as a cold call and just kind of observe the session. So that's something, if you can do, I will really appreciate.
Absolutely.
And this has been awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely come for that.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I just finished a fantastic post-observation feedback meeting with Rag. It was great because he told me about some of the patterns that I brought into the class that I was not even aware of. After that, we discussed the data points that I asked him to collect, and collectively we came up with strategies that I can start implementing in my classroom right away. So I'm pretty excited about that.